powerful enough. That power up in us. We are powerful enough. We got power up in us. Echoes of this love, let the silence go and talk. Deep up in our hearts, we are powerful enough. We got power all up in us. Call the echoes, echoes of love. Echoes of love. Echoes of love. Moving with the unicide, cause you know it's you and I think that we unify. The love and you'll know the I, cause the you you're looking for is the truth you hiding from. It's the peace inside of you, not the lies outside of you. Live in love and ignite. It's the flame of eternal life. It's the God that's inside. Live in love, live in light. It's the power deep inside. It's the echoes of this love. It's the echoes of this love. Let the silence talk in your heart, cause you know we are powerful enough. It's love, power in us, echoes of flame, eternally.
Welcome back, everybody, to Echoes of the Eternal Flame, a Krystic podcast with your hosts, Nikki and Natai. In this episode, we are going to talk about basic Bio-Regenesis technologies, also known as techniques. You may know them as, techniques such as meditations, or breathing exercises or visualizations. And these are all technologies that used to be common knowledge in ancient human history and have been brought back to us through the freedom teachings delivered by the speakers of the Melchizedek Cloister Emerald Order, known as the Freedom Teachings. So in this podcast episode, we're going to introduce to you some of these, our favorite techniques, ones that we found to be the most helpful, the most useful, the most transformative. And we'll deep dive into some of these to kind of give you a framework to understand what you're going to get into whenever you start practicing and learning all about this stuff. So here we are going to introduce to you the basics of Bio-Regenesis in technologies. All right, Natai.
Yeah, of course, I'll start with the Maharic Seal. This is like your bread and butter, okay? With like the 12 attitudes and responsibilities, that is like your actions and tasks to do in life. The Maharic Shield is like your spiritual hygiene resource. It's like brushing your teeth in a spiritual sense, you know? And what it is essentially anchoring um, the Maharic frequency, which is this pale silver light D12 frequency, and creating, let's say, a shield or let's say a mirror that reflects all that which is mimic and echo out. You know, a mirror that prevents all the things that would try and enter into your field to go out. It lets you be able to kind of have a space where you can know your thoughts are yours. Okay, these are my thoughts now. So anything that kind of enters here that I don't like, those are from me. Okay, that's good. Then you can look at it and start healing it. That's why I really like the Maharic Seal. And you have to at first do the full 29 step technique process. You know, you have to envision the 2.2 6-pointer stars, right? And then connect them, let it go down your vertical channel. There's so many videos and techniques out there that you can do. But I have my own as well. My personal take on it all, right, is that Maharic frequency is going. It's an understanding that comes. You know, it's like a flame, right? As we believe in the echoes of the flame, right? It's like the epitome of what flame consciousness would be like. It's pure stillness and silence and vibrational harmonization. You know, that happens within you, right? So love is that a state of vibrational harmonization. So the Maharic Seal is that which harmonizes your vibration. It's the thing that starts to go into your field, into your, well, not really into it because it's already part of your field. It's just more amplifying, you know, amplifying, getting ready, getting yourself uh you know to a point where you're able to accrete more and more frequency in a Krystic way. So the Maharic Seal is your beginning and will be your end if you really understand this. You know what I mean. The Maharic Seal will be the thing you start with when you enter your journey with the 12 attitudes and responsibilities, and the thing that will be with you all the way throughout your whole thing, because it's going to transform later on. It's going to become a song, uh, a song that you can sing, and and then over time, instead of having to do the full technique process, right? It's just, now what I do is I breathe 3 times. I imagine, send it down. Okay, now it's down there on earth. Okay, now breathe it up. It's my shield, right? See, right underneath my feet, 12 inches below my feet. And now shoot it out. Boom. Now shield is there. And I feel really good. And you can even feel it, right? If you're really, those of you who are more, let's say, acute with your senses, you can feel it go up your spine. It will be like Kundalini activation, but it's a gentle version of whatever they got you doing in the Kundalini nowadays, right? It kind of connects your Kundalini to your Maharata frequency. And then there's the Kyokushinkai frequency as well, but that's a story for another time. We'll pass it on to Nikki.
Yeah, so the Maharic Shield, just like Nate was explaining, it really is specific application of conscious energy direction. So where you put your attention and focus is where energy is flowing. And that is basic spiritual mechanics, right? I'm at the point where I can absolutely feel the Maharic frequency coming up into my body from my feet up. I can feel it as like a cooling sensation. It feels lovely. It feels really, really good. And if you are practicing this right now and you don't have any sensations, don't worry, that will come later. If anything, you might just be visualizing it for now and not feel anything, and that's totally okay. But I'm at the point where even if I think about it, I could feel it right away. And again, singing the song, which is the Song of Lyra, brings up that Maharic frequency too for you whenever you sing that invocation. So I have some writings here from Speaker 2, Michael Dean, and he had written a bit about the Maharic Seal technique and the mechanics of that. And it is like Nate said, it is like several stages, but you get to the point where you have memorized the sequence of techniques in the long form meditation, and then eventually you graduate to just doing this short form. So it's like building muscle memory, right? It's like building new neural synapses in your brain, where then with repetitive action, it becomes more natural to revisit that space without much work, right? So that's exactly what you're doing. And so this is what Michael Dean said in his writings about the Maharic Seal technique. Like all temple techniques and tools, the Maharic Seal is grounded firmly in universal unified field physics, ancient Merkaba mechanics, and matter template science, aka the divine blueprint. So I know a lot of people in the spiritual community, when they first encounter this technique, they're looking at the geomancy code, which is the symbol of the Star of David. It can be referred to as the Star of David, but this symbol in this aspect is not religious whatsoever. It is the Merkaba. It's the symbol of the Merkaba. And whenever you're doing this technique, you are awakening aspects of your divine blueprint in order to correct your Merkaba so that you may heal and ascend. So there's a lot of mechanics behind why we're doing this technique. And you'll find in the spiritual community that there are no solid explanations for why you're doing it in this way, whereas in the Freedom Teachings, you do get that information and the structure behind it. So I'm going to explain what the Maharic Seal can do for you. Regular use will begin the process of activating the 8 through the 12 chakras of the personal Kathara grid. Assist the opening of the crystal seals in the body, which otherwise block DNA activation. You're quite literally breaking open the crystal seals in the body and waking up your DNA when you do this. Open the planetary biofeed interface within the personal body, enabling the body vehicle to become a truly effective tool for lasting planetary grid and sacred site work. So you are connected to the planetary body known as Earth. And whenever you awaken that chakra that is the center of the Earth, you're pulling the Maharic frequency from there. You have a natural planetary connection with your biology, with the planet. And doing this technique awakens that for you so that you can then do sacred planetary grid work. Trigger DNA template activations, which progressively and automatically activate the full 12-dimensional Merkaba. Enable healers to transmit 12D frequencies, subharmonics, providing more powerful, longer lasting, often permanent healing facilitation, free of personal and client energetic field distortions. So, this is where you can get your healing frequency from. Okay, not Reiki, Maharic frequency. Protect users from disharmonic energies associated with channeling, healing, astral and dream projection, and other forms of field encroachment infiltration. That's a big one. Okay. That's like a whole podcast alone. But
Mm-hmm.
essentially, our fields are typically wide open. The Maharic shielding technique will seal your field to protect you from encroaching infiltration. When you're discussing things with people, when you're going about your day, shaking hands, you're doing a lot of engagement with other people on the planet who are willingly or unwillingly, knowingly or unknowingly transmitting harmful frequencies towards you. So doing this daily is like Natai said, brushing your teeth every morning. That's the first thing you do. It protects you. Okay. Also, assist fractious indigo type 3 children administered via parent. So we might get into indigos at a later time, but it certainly helps with like when if you have children who are needing some assistance to bring their energy back into their bodies, to be sovereign. This is something that you can teach your children to do to give them that protection and daily cleansing. Amplify results of all spiritually focused activity, harmonize personal and environmental energies, create morphogenetic repatterning, clearing karmic miasmic imprints, which otherwise block DNA template activation, and the attainment of true consciousness expansion and the full embodiment of the Christos principle. That's a big one. That's what we're here to do. We're here to clear and bring our consciousness back to expansion, which is our natural state, right? And this is the frequency that can do that. And the last one, it says, realign, revitalize, and regenerate all aspects of the physical and subtle energy body systems. Prepare and equip practitioners to receive and hold the increasing flow of higher frequencies, energies flowing into the planetary grids and personal morphogenetic fields arising with regular practice. Unlimited supplies of high frequency energy can be drawn from the planetary Maharic shield. This is limited only by the energy holding capacity or active level of personal expanded consciousness of the personal morphogenetic fields of the practitioner. This progressively increases if the Maharic Seal is used in a consistent fashion. So as you use it, you're building the frequency accretion in your system, which means that you can then increase the intensity of the frequency energy flowing to you, which is that process of bioregenesis, right? Which is the process of expansion. So repetitive use can strengthen and refine. And as you progress through the technologies, you will find that you always use the Maharic frequency as a buffer. It comes in as a pale silver frequency, and everything that you do is coded in this pale silver, pearlescent, if you will, frequency. That is your natural frequency that you should always have with you. It is described as giving the 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensional frequencies. So this was what I just read to you now was writings by Asan, Speaker 2, Michael Dean. And so those are his words of describing the importance of the Maharic Shield. It is really your daily, it is the capstone for what we do within the tools. It should be your daily, like Nate said. So that's like a lot of information, and I apologize, but I wanted to give you like as much as I possibly could about the importance of the Maharic Shield, why we're doing it, why it should be your daily, your number one, before you do anything else in your day, just like Nate said, right? All right, Nate, I don't know if you want to add anything or if you want to move on to the any other technologies.
Yeah, see, with the Maharic seal, I'll just add this last thing is it's one of those things that to me is incontrovertible. It's that you will see and notice a big change. She just will, right? As it starts to harmonize, let's say biologically, you start to be harmonized through the Maharic seal. That also means neurologically. That means you're going to start to notice how much more powerful, how much more your thoughts have been creating, right? You will see the synchronicities more often. That's what happened, at least specifically for me. Around 2 years ago, when I began, I was told, yeah, the Maharic Seal, it's important, do it. That's the first thing I heard. I was like, okay, I feel that, I will do that. Just listen to that. That is the thing that I need to do. So I was doing that for months and months and months straight. And you start to notice that you have a thought about something, and within a week, that thing that you were thinking about will happen because it's unlocking more and more of your, let's say, dormant DNA. Sleeping DNA, as they would all call it, right? It starts to not necessarily completely wake up, but in just by correspondence, it will start to activate or vibrate. Start to buzz around in your system because you have this shield, right? And it can be intense actually too, right? At first, that's why it's like slowly you build up that Maharic Seal frequency. A lot of people want to jump into spiritual practices, right? But this is from law of one, right? This is predicated and rooted in law of one, meaning um, there's not going to be any bypassing going on. Right? Whatever you got in you that needs to be cleared will be cleared out because we're all one, right? I would want it cleared out personally because I don't want what's in here, let's say, infiltrating other people. Things that I haven't dealt with in my heart, things I haven't dealt with in my mind, things I haven't dealt with in my shadows. Maharic Seal is not just to protect you; it's also to protect others from you. Like let's put that out there. It's not just to protect you; that's also to protect others from you.
That's legit. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that goes into another one that I like is the mentor, awakening your mentor space, right? Your mentor is what I feel the whole channeling movement was really about.
Mhm.
You know, your mentor is the part of your awareness that kind of drops down. That is that you can speak with, essentially. A lot of you have been doing that. You don't realize that's what you've been doing. And there's a whole technique process to it that you can go where you awaken that mentor. There's a space right over your shoulder, right here. You will notice there's an active notice, right? Maybe I can use that picture, right? Something like that, right? See that frequency right there drops down, which is you, right? The mentor is essentially your higher self, in a way, in its own form, coming down to guide you because you asked for it, right? You activated the mentor, the awakening the mentor technique, and now you got your guidance. So whenever you need it, right? You instead of, oh, Archangel Michael, hello, are you there, sir? Okay, now come take my body and use it and talk through my body. Okay, instead of doing that, you can just be like, oh, hey, me, I need you for a sec. And then yes, you, right? Not incarnate you, but I think I'm not gonna go into more detail because I don't know which perversion of you, but it is I feel over a soul level of awareness that drops down into that space and starts to guide. Um, and you'll know it's from you because it'll have a lovingness to it, but then also like, hey man, or woman, whichever, hey man, like you should get on this. Like you don't have to, but we recommend. If you're asking me a question, if you're asking yourself this question, this is the response, and 99% of the chance, whenever I work with the mentor, it's something I would say to myself or to somebody else, and that's how I know. Anyways, I'll let Nikki get into the technical, get into it, and she's a bit more technical with it than I am. I'm more of a, hey, this is my experience of it, and she's like, this is all of it right here. So yeah.
Yeah, it's the awakening the inner mentor as a technique is a really great beginning way to realize that you have higher aspects of your identity at your disposal, right? And so that teaches you that you can actually have that higher perspective all the time with that visualization technique where you're imagining a part of your consciousness stationed at a certain position on your right side of your body beside your head, and then you could bring it in as well. And you can almost look at the world in a different filter, with more wisdom, because you actually have access to that naturally, right? And that is a really great technique. That's a great practice, and also reminds you that you can be totally totally sovereign. You can be all wise. You don't need to connect to external archangels or ascended masters or what have you. You don't have to channel higher dimensional beings because you are already a high dimensional being. You have multi dimensions that you have access to that you are already existing in, but you just don't know it because we didn't have the technology before, right? So that is the essential mechanics of ascension. And a lot of you may have been diving into the freedom teachings and you may have seen this diagram where there's a person in the middle and there's circles coming out from that person. It's always described as you are spheres within spheres, all in one simultaneous time. Okay. And a lot of those spheres, like the many mansions of the house of God, you have access to them. You do. But we have distortions, locks, and seals that limit us from accessing that.
Yes.
So the technology is giving you the tools to break the seals that you are safely ready for. You've accreted enough Maharic frequency to then be introduced to this higher dimensional self that you are. We are
Yeah.
locked from them until we're either A, ready, or B, clear the distortions, or both, right? And so that's
Yeah.
one thing I will mention about awakening the inner mentor and what I see it as, right? Before we get into like the higher parts and how we do that, I do want to mention the Epsilon Field Disengagement
Yeah.
technique. That is one that I actually really liked because at the time I had encountered, I don't know if you've heard of her, Sabrina Wallace. She's kind of like, popular in like the conspiracy theorist community where she was somebody who really spoke out about the technologies being used against us and how we have nodes that are implanted in our body via government agencies where they can tap into our biomechanics. They can do reads on our all of our bodily functions. They can get our heart rate, our blood pressure, everything just by like and store it in the cloud, and that when they do this, when they tap into our biometrics via their frequencies, they are actually harming and leaving behind harmful residues, which cause a lot of autoimmune diseases. Like her information is profound. And to me, she has proven it through actual published scientific journals and articles that reveal that this technology exists. And
Hmm.
indeed, we have government organizations utilizing it for their benefit, for data harvesting, for control of humanity. They could make somebody have a heart attack anywhere on the globe, basically. They can change weather patterns. There's a lot they can do. Within the freedom teachings context, this is known as the net frequency, so that there are harmful fallen angelic agendas that are determined to make sure that this planet and her stargates belongs to them and not to us. Therefore, we need to kind of move out of the way. We can't be obliterated necessarily because we have important DNA codes which open those stargates. So, in order to then have it all, they have to keep us around, but also keep us monitored, keep us under their foot, keep us controlled, and tracked and traced, and also debilitated. How much better that we're harmed, don't have full awareness of ourselves. The whole process here is breaking free. So the Epsilon Field Disengagement technique is a technique that uses what looks to appear to be a Greek symbol. You visualize this in gold, and it is called the Phi Beta Phi symbol. And you use this and visualize this to protect you. And that will protect you from those harmful frequency waves, direct target attacks from drones, net field distortion, invasions, like all of that technology that exists. We can be protected from it with our conscious intention, with our visualization, with realizing the power of our biofield and our frequency capacities that we have. They don't want us to know that, right? They want us to remain in ignorance. And so that to me is a big topic right now because a lot of people are realizing that there's much more going on. We can't see it, but we can feel it. How do you identify it? And then what can you do to protect yourself? So the Epsilon field disengagement technique for me, I got excited. I'm like, finally, something that tells me we can be protected. We can have that technology. We can use it every day. I print out little pictures of this stuff, that golden symbol, the Phi Beta Phi, and I actually put it under my pillow. So when I'm astral traveling, going into the fourth dimension. When I'm sleeping, I'm protected. I put it under my children's pillowcases as well. A little laminated little piece of paper with that symbol. I visualize it with a breath and I expand it out to surround me like I'm in an egg of it whenever I feel like there's something harmful going on. When I get a dark thought or I feel ear ringing or I get a splitting pain in my head that is completely random, that's when I use that technique and I have had success with it. So that is one thing that I totally wanted to mention before we deep dive into too much more depth with like higher parts and what that looks like. But I hope that I can summarize that in a nutshell. It's really hard not to have like pictures and diagrams up here to talk about, but I think that that helps at least for now.
Yeah, actually, I would like to ask you a quick question. This is usually going to be back and forth. It's supposed to be my turn on the podcast and going, but ear ringing, ear ringing. When you said that, came to me because I noticed I used to get ear ringing pretty frequently, right? And a lot of people think that actually ear ringing is good. It's like, oh, getting messages coming in. So what is your take on the ear ringing? You know?
I completely disagree. I actually did a video that went viral on this topic that aligned with a lot of people that ear ringing is not a good sign. Ear ringing is a frequency pitch change. There's a quick and rapid frequency shift that is not coming from the inside, it's external. So that to me says it's coming at you from the outside to you. And you're picking up on the frequency pitch change, which is an attack. I don't see it as a friendly message from a higher spirit guide, which is
Mhm.
what the New Age spiritual community often says. It is very much, in my opinion, a sign of an attack, a frequency shift from it could be a visiting dark avatar or some kind of higher dimensional being. Nothing needs to be invading your fields. So
Mhm.
the minute that I have an ear ringing, I pull up the Epsilon Field Disengagement technique with my breath, and then I command it to go, whatever it is. I'm sorry, but I have many parts. I don't need extra. I don't need you. You don't need to come into my field, right? I'm very passionate about protection and you knowing your sovereign right to be independent. We
Mhm.
don't need access to external wisdom. We have all the wisdom inside. So why are you coming into my field, disturbing my frequency and
Mhm.
shifting it like that? It's unwelcome. It's not necessary. It can lead actually to tinnitus if it's frequent enough. It can lead to headaches. It's harmful. And that harmful frequency pitch can also shift your biomechanical, sovereignty where you're suffering with an illness. And again, with Sabrina Wallace, she's discovered and has relayed the information that a lot of these frequency attacks have caused a surge of autoimmune disorders. Autoimmune disorders are things that kind of spiked in 1995 whenever we had, well, she goes
Mhm.
into explaining when that all happened and
Mhm.
why.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we were introducing new frequencies that were not previously present, and it was impacting people
Mhm.
negatively. And it presents as an autoimmune disorder, which is, not being too knowledgeable about autoimmune disorders, but people I do know personally that have them, and lightly describe it as my body's way of attacking itself. It doesn't understand. It doesn't need to do that.
Mhm.
You're being harmed, but it's not your fault, and it's not something that you've caused on yourself. It is very much certainly an external factor. And I do firmly believe that the bioregenesis technologies that we're practicing on a daily can limit, reduce, and remove some of these effects. Hmm.
Yeah, thank you for that. I actually had no clue about everything you said, so we're learning together here, on
Yay!
the Echoes of the Flame. Because I would always get these frequency shift, like pitch noises, here and there, and I never understood where it come from, if it's a good place or a bad place. So I'd like try and observe it, and then as I would start to observe it, it would disappear. It's like it
Hmm.
almost didn't want me to watch what it was doing, which is interesting, and that leads me to wanting to talk about Emerald and Amethyst Awakening, or sequence of Flame Body Techniques 1 and 2. Honestly, I might actually just go to Flame Body Techniques 1 and 2 and let you handle the Emerald and Amethyst Awakening. Um, but yeah, so Technique 1, Akasha quick seal activation. So this would be first in the flame body technique series. We're not going to go into all of them, but the first two are very important techniques in my opinion, right? And the first one is the Ekasha quick seal activation. So the Ekasha is a build up onto the Maharic frequency, right? So the Ekasha seal is it's like a teardrop style seal. You can almost see it on my background. It's not quite. Oops. We're gonna need to put some edits into this, Nike.
Mhm. It's a flame shape, right?
Yeah, it's essentially a flame. So the Ekasha is a flame, and it's the seal that kind of governs access in and out. You know, it's the seal that governs the access in and out. More in and out is more past the D12, right? More into the D13, 14, 15, the primal sound fields, right? The Ekasha, right? Um, um, so it kind of creates, let's say, a bigger shield or more crisper, more, let's say, pinpoint, um, more encompassing shield. It's just a add-on to your Maharic seal. It's essentially a code that is inducted into your shield that kind of says, "Hey, we're moving on to the next level of the protection." You know, we got the Maharic frequency in our body. Now we're gonna add another layer, right? Ekasha onto that. So when we do technique two, astral awake, aware, enable, which is the technique that leads us into the astral, you know, prepares us to open up the seals, I believe, in our fourth chakra, if I'm not mistaken, right? Preparing us to be able to have a clear astral travel. Your Ekasha seal essentially kind of becomes a replacement to your Maharic seal. You know, the Ekasha is the Maharic built up. You know, it's a more built up version of it. That's my interpretation. We'll pass it on to Nikki.
All right. So flame body. I mean, the Emerald and Amethyst Awakening is a precursor to the flame body techniques. So you have to do that first. And what you're doing with the Emerald and Amethyst Awakening is you're removing some of the seals in order to have access to that higher frequency that is part of your natural biomechanics. So that's essentially what it is. When I first got introduced to this, I fell asleep like 4 times listening to that first. It was so hard just to stay awake, which is recommended. Please try to stay awake, even though your higher parts know what you're doing and will assist as necessary. But how nice to have the conscious awareness that I did it. I completed the entire meditation. And visualization. There's so much heavy visuals that go on. That I don't want you to be discouraged about necessarily because a lot of people actually struggle with visualization. What that is it's essentially um, I don't want to say a distortion, but it's a block you have with your DNA, which will change. That can absolutely change. You're not stuck like that. You're not cursed. You don't have a hex on you. It's actually quite natural to find a lot of people cannot visualize. But please know that with your intention and your breath and your conscious awareness of this methodology, you will be successful. So don't worry about that. But I had fallen asleep quite often through that first meditation because it's a big one. It releases big seals that limit you from accessing the frequency that you're going to then be accustomed to receiving with the flame body technologies. Within the Flame Body series, there are 20 techniques. And you start off, I actually have a list here. Quickly look at that. Yeah, like Natai said, you start with the Ekasha Quick Seal activation. You do the Akasha Quick Seal on a daily. It kind of replaces your Maharic Seal technique. It's a shorter version of it, but instead of the geomancy code of the Merkaba, you're going to be using the Akasha, which is that flame-shaped sacred code. I'm actually wearing it as a necklace here in this video on YouTube here. But if you're listening to the podcast, you can hop over on YouTube and see that. There are places to buy those necklaces, but it's one of those sacred symbols, which we can certainly talk about another time. But then the technique 2 is Astral Awake, Aware, and Able. Technique 3 is Eros Flame and Silver Sanctum. The next technique is Commanding Silence from the Inner Throne of Power. So it's just a series of techniques that the way I visualize this is It's like a key going into a keyhole, and as the key turns, all the components, the complex components of the lock system, shift and move and turn just so in order to line up perfectly so that then you can unlock the door. That's how I visualize it. That's how my higher parts gave me that visual. Because as I was going through the flame body technologies, I was realizing this is so complex. I could never explain this to somebody. I'm listening and I'm watching these videos. I'm looking at the diagrams and the maps, but I still like it makes sense, but I could never truly in language relay it again, just like she did. It's just so complex, but it doesn't have to be. You just have to definitely please watch and listen and look at the graphs and charts
Hmm.
of the explanations of these technologies, but know and trust that it's just as simple as you're unlocking the many layered parts of your biomechanical anatomy. You are a complex system, right? Just like a code. And you are unlocking and releasing seals within the coding that you are. So you are essentially, each time you do a technique, inserting a key and turning it. And then you do it again, turning some more. And you keep going until you're unlocked and you're accessing these higher dimensional spaces and awakening your flame. So that's essentially what I can share because it would take way too long to go through each technique and explain each one, right? But I think we're here to more speak about our experiences with them too, right?
Yeah, yeah, right. And I call it a flame integration process, like integrating your inner flame or Christos, right? For example, nowadays, with the Christian background, I don't know if y'all know, I grew up really Christian, right? So everyone, whenever they pray as a Christian, they say in Jesus, amen, right? But I have a little take on it now. Instead of saying, whenever I pray, or I'm doing a little prayer, I'm setting intentions for others, including myself, I say, in the flame of Christ, Adonai. Like, in the flame of Christ, Adonai, Adonai. I recognize the flame in us. I recognize the flame in me. I recognize the flame in you. I recognize the flame all around. Flame being first breath of creation. That's kind of how I see it, when everything came down. So those are just the first two techniques of the flame body. We're not gonna go any further than that right now because flame body is just in and of itself is like a month-long process of experience that you go through, and it's personal. It's all personal, right? The thing is, I bet my experience with it is way different than Nikki's experience with it. Right? And Nikki's experience is different than, let's say, Ashiana, Azon, and any other person who's participated, you know?
Mhm,
And part of an important thing that's included in all this is pineal induction, right? So
mhm,
pineal induction is essentially breathing through your third eye. Describe it, okay? So that's breathing through our third eye. What does that mean? You have, let's say, let's use the Akasha code, right? You have your Akasha code, or you have, let's say, the Merkaba, the Star of David, right? And you look at it and you kind of breathe, or you look at a map, right? You of let's say your anatomy, if you want to know more, or there's so many things you can use this for, right? Or just a color, right? Say a color that you really like an indigo color. Like my wall is indigo and green, you can't see it, right? Or this, I want to feel this. I look at it kind of like with my third eye. What I do is I kind of like cross my eyes, right? You keep your eyes open and then you let it kind of glaze over, and then you inhale, and that is pineal induction. You are now breathing into here,
mhm,
um, the frequency in which you're looking to explore right now.
mhm.
So there's that, and then there's also the 12 tribes of that we are. And I'll let the Nikki take over here. I feel some that she has some brewing here that she's gonna pass you guys some gems. So let her go.
Yeah, with a optical pineal induction, I want to speak to that actually because a lot of us don't realize that our eyes are quite powerful and that we send and receive frequency from our eyes. And I know that a lot of people listening and watching have an experience where they felt someone watching them and they would realize, oh, I am being looked at. You know how like you're driving your car, for example, and you stop at the red light and you glance over at the car next to you and they look at you too? And it's like, shit, how did they know that I was gonna look at them?
Mhm.
They felt it. Okay. So you can actually send energy darts with your eyes. And you have to be aware of that because a lot of people walk around scowling at other people for their actions and behaviors, and they send negative energy darts at them through their eyes. And people feel it. They totally feel it, even if they're not consciously aware of it. And so the same goes for receiving frequency. We receive frequency with our eyes when we're scrolling on social media, which let's face it, that's not good for us. There's a lot of darkness in there. We can talk about social media and dark stuff later, but that is something that you should reduce the practice of. Instead, looking at nature, looking at beauty, looking at geomancies, looking at codes. So codes are consciousnesses. They're living beings. They have a life. They have a consciousness. And you know what's interesting is that a lot of the codes that we work with within the Freedom Teachings, it recently became a new scientific, I guess, what do I want to say, release of information that they actually captured photos of photons. And those photos of stilled photons look just like those geomancy codes and those codes that we work with within the Freedom Teachings. They're circular sometimes, highly detailed. They look like mandalas. If you're watching this YouTube video, we have codes behind us, me and Natai. These are very powerful frequency emitting consciousnesses that you can co-create with. So whenever you do optical pineal induction, you're crossing your eyes so that you see double because you have two eyes, and it also crosses back into the brain, as you know. And that's how eyes work. The right eye is received by the other opposite side of
Left
your
side, yeah.
brain, and the image is also like flipped, right? It's very, very interesting how that all works. But I don't know a lot about that, biomechanics of that, but I do know that it's quite powerful to take in the frequency of a consciousness of a code. And let me tell you, I have had proof for myself that this is not BS. Like I have codes on my wall, so I go to bed every night, I look at my codes, they're on the wall, I have them in frames, and I printed the Mahadra Adrana code and I have it on my wall. And I just glanced at it nonchalantly, non-specifically, just glanced at it. My eyes landed on it, and I saw it turning. The outside of the code was spinning one way, and
Mhm.
the inside of the code was spinning the other way. And I thought I got dizzy. I was like, "What's wrong? Did I get up too fast? What?" And
Good.
it was the code speaking to me, and I
Yes,
totally
it does.
forgot that that code spins. It does. It turns. The outside turns the opposite of the inside. I was
Yeah.
friggin' blown away. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, it's real. It's real. Anyway, I just had like this amazing experience with the pineal optical induction, and I try to be consciously aware of how powerful we are and what we take in and what we receive and what we send out, just with our eyes. It's a technology that we have. And the
Mhm.
Freedom Teachings was the first one to provide the mechanics behind that, the science behind it, and how it works and why you're doing it. So fascinating, right?
Yeah. And it's all living. You'll notice that. When we're working with the flame, it's living.
Mm.
When you're not working with the flame, you will notice some artificialness to it. Almost not living energy. You know what I mean? Um, let's take I'll give an example. Big example is the difference between Kathara and Kabbalah. Okay. And the flower of life and the flower of death. And the one we call flower of life everywhere, well, the new age at least, is the flower of death, you know? The real flower of life isn't a closed system. It's an open system, you know? You'll notice when you start to use pineal induction, you can see the life in a thing and not. I don't know if that makes sense. You can just see it. I know, okay? I know when I'm looking at that person, right? That specific individual. I'm not judging you, but I know there's some. Are you hybrid? Like when I'm looking at certain people, right? In certain positions, when you start to go down here, it's not like I'm feeling crazy or I feel schizophrenic here, right? But let's say I finish sitting here in an hour long meditation, right? Where I'm imagining the Maharic Seal, or you can use the pineal induction actually when you're in nature. It's the best to use it there, in my opinion. You sit on
Yes.
a bench, you're just like, wow. You will see, you can literally see like the moving particles in things. You will see it like zzz, everything going crazy, right? Sometimes though, I use it when I'm, say, watching a news story because I need to know, am I getting Krystic source of information? Sometimes there's some news people who appear, they're actually Krystic. They're one of the Christian. They're giving information and love and freedom like you've never heard before. That you wish, you know. But a lot of times it is very negative, and you look at the person and you can kind of like, hello, it's not a human. It is human. It looks human. What is that though? Who is that though? What are they saying right now? Why are they condoning this right now? So the techniques is discernment. It's to build our discernment. It's for us to discern whether or not this is our truth or not. And truth, right? Truth, give you the acronym now, is the road you take home. Okay. Truth is the road you take home. So you have your road, Nikki. I have my road. Nikki has her road, right? Sometimes our truths will converge. And I wish and the truth is, all our truths will converge at the end. All our roads will converge at the end, right? But there's some people who have certain truths that you do not want to follow. Well, I can't say you do not because that's me taking away your free will. Okay, you have the choice to follow. I don't recommend. Okay, I do not recommend following certain patterns of teaching, certain teachings that make you want to bypass your, let's say, inner flame, that make you want to be love, light, and clueless. When we talk about Maharic Seal, when we talk about flame, when we talk about awakening the mentor, when we talk about Epsilon Field Disengagement, when we talk about attitudes and responsibilities, right? These things are all tools that you maintain your sovereignty, right? So you can truly experience what it is to be God sovereign free in even what in let's say its limited form right now that we're in. Even though we're not limited, we're actually really unlimited, and you'll experience a lot more with devotion to yourself. No one else. Devotion to self because of love, right? And love for self will then translate to love for others if it's done in proper accordance to law and omni love. And I think this is a good time for me to move on to the AMPM linguistic template reprogramming grids. And you already know we're gonna give this to Nikki because Nikki will give you the jewels and the gems. Let her take over.
Yeah, linguistic template reprogramming grids is another series of techniques. There are several of them. The IM, AM, PM, there's the I am free, there's the Krystic declaration. There's quite a few that have been very specific languaging put together that Asha Nadine actually was asked as speaker one to practice in order to A, increase her confidence in herself, B, remove those negative thoughts, and C, become empowered knowing who she really is. And so whenever you vocalize these out loud, you just read them like little poems out loud. You are commanding so much empowerment to your system, to your space. And a lot of us know, in the New Age spiritual community, how important it is to have mantras, to have, affirmations. And those are, I think, still pretty popular and useful tools in the spiritual community. They are definitely bits of truth of what is very, very useful. In that when God stepped down from creation, the first thing that emitted as a manifestation of the step down from the unici was sound. And then the sound made light. So when you make sound, you are enacting your God given right to create. So when you emit sounds and tones from your vocals, you are creating in your morphogenetic field very real situations for yourself, and you can change your thoughts and your feelings, and therefore change your reality. And yes, we can all live together in one place. Like Natai was saying, there are people who have their own truth. It doesn't have to be yours. And you will know the difference whenever you've commanded your space and you know who you are because you've cleaned up on your attitude towards yourself, your self confidence, and the negative thoughts that sometimes can bombard us, right? So it's a very powerful tool. The LTR grids is what we call them in the Freedom Teachings. So I have them printed out, I have them on my wall. And some days I wake up after brushing my teeth and I'll stand in front of them and I'll say them out loud. I'll read them through. And I won't just like read them through like I'm checking a box. I will try to pause and feel each word and consider each sentence I've spoken and really visualize it and understand it. Because you can read things without thinking, but in this case, bring your thoughts in with it, really marry your thoughts in with the words you're speaking out loud. And that's kind of braiding into your standing scalar wave, which is what you are. Your morphogenetic field is imbued then with that power. So that's what I will speak to regarding the LTR grids. I know we wanted to mention the 12 tribes too briefly. Is it okay if I get into
Yeah,
that real quick? Okay.
yeah. I
I don't
was,
want to
I
skip over
was,
that. Yeah.
I was literally thinking in my head. I'm like, yeah, we should. I remember the 12 tribes. My bad. We should probably get back to that too.
There's like so many techniques. Honestly, there's hundreds. But these
It's
are our
beautiful.
favorites, right? These are the ones that are like the gems. So the 12 tribes is essentially a song. It is a series of tones and suffixes for each tribe. 12 is a magic number in the Freedom Teachings, as you know. Angelic humans come with 12 strands of DNA activated. Of course, we don't have 12 strands activated anymore due to the distortions and many layered manipulations that have gone on over time, but we do have at least three. And so the dimensions are the manifestations of who we are, right? It is pre-matter manifestations. We have 12 dimensions available to us, 12 DNA activations available to us. And this is who we are. This is a painting a picture as to the greater picture, really, of who we are, what we're capable of. And so whenever you sing the tribe names and the suffix tone, you are very much activating that DNA that you have as well. Araya Zuta Ra, Zephyr Duna Torda, Maahutaku, Yunzu Zenki, Chiazun Yangle Yangum, Miha Tuagrawi. So it goes on like that. You can sing it, you can
Yep.
chant it, and it is the most powerful, activating. It feels so good. It
It,
tickles
it,
all of you all over. It's just beautiful. And those are powerful, ancient tones spoken from Anahazi, which is the first manifest language that we have in our time matrix,
Mhm.
that activates you. You know in your DNA these sounds. They sing to your DNA.
Mhm.
And it's an awakening tool, a
It-
grounding, activating tool, very
yeah.
much.
And it is those are our ancestors, by the way.
Yeah.
When people talk about ancestors, those are it, right? So I'll actually repeat all those names again, just for
Go ahead.
mastery and everyone else's sake here, right? So Ishutu Ishu right? And then there's Amika Sun Etur Mahalebru E uh, um uh, Nuaguhali, there's the Iona Tu Etil, there's the Ramiana Shri Vida, right? And when you hear these names, you're like, oh, I can imagine what tribe they are. Certain some of these names, right? There's the Mihata Gara, right? Am I saying that? Mahata Gara? I was saying that right.
Miha
Yeah.
Toagrawi.
Chiazun ya la yung Yuzunzenki Mahahute Zephardun Atur Araya Zortara, you know. And when it's recommended, the first two, right, that you can say is tribe one and tribe two. So you say Araya Zortara, Ishu tu Ishu and then you can sing the full song if you know it. But these are our ancestors. These 12 tribes are us. So people with race issues, okay, let me say that if you are one who thinks superiority via race or inferiority via race, that's not true, okay. We've all been there, maybe. But it ain't about race here because we're all the same. We all are connected to these 12 tribes. So put it like this: Nikki is just as much African as I may be European, ancestry wise, right? So there's no this physical shell doesn't tell you all about your DNA, okay? Because if we did go down in DNA, and actually in university class, in the anthropology class I took this, I might have more in common genetically with someone in Asia or someone in Canada than someone from Ethiopia from the same tribe as me. This is how genetics work, right? It's weird to think about it, right? But my genes codes could be more similar to somebody in a whole different part of the country than somebody right beside me. So what does that tell you about ancestry? What does that tell you about that? That means that there is a common link that we all share, and at certain points they branched off in different directions, right? But there's one point that we are all emanating from, the Unasai, okay? That Unasai, that's where we emanate from. And this Unasai then steps down into all of us. And these techniques are to connect us back to the Unasai. And then from there, who knows the worlds that are waiting to be explored, okay? Who knows how many more other Unasais are there, and how maybe all that those the Unasais become one even larger point. Like we have no clue the scale at which um God's source operates at. It operates at such a large scale that just these flame body techniques and just these beginning teachings is probably, there's so much more, but this is just like how to get you there. And then from there, right now you have your inner connection. Now you can connect, and now you can have your own personal techniques, right? Follow that inner guidance too. Is the last thing I want to share after the 12 um tribes here. Your ancestors there with you. You were an ancestor. You are the ancestor to yourself, right? And in any given moment, you know, some of us have to realize we do have simultaneous life experiences. Just be more privy to me, right? So there's parts of you that are collecting skills at another time, just like you're collecting skills now, all to be used by I am this, I am you, Christos, that part of you, all of you is working for one being. If you see yourself as one gigantic being, and that this little piece here is beautiful, it's amazing, it's perfect, it's so necessary for the experience. But it's not, but it is. You see that little middle space of balance and mastery, knowing how much to love, but also knowing how much you shouldn't let your love burden you. It's like I love, but not let love burden me. This is where we're entering into, and the energy shift that's happening planetarily. People are feeling it. I'm watching people around me going through their hell. It's their hell though. It's not hell. It's their shadows are coming, and whether or not you are um ready or not, I don't think it matters. It's just energetically right now. So this is why I feel like this is the most important time to start getting on the protection techniques, integration techniques, because whether we like it or not, it is coming. And what is coming? The truth, the ultimate truth. The ultimate road back home will be revealed. And those who are wanting it, I want it, Nikki wants it. We all, and those who are wanting to lead others through example, it will happen. And it's let's say starfire, burning process. The fires of the stars are coming, and I am ready. I hope you guys are too. Because I want to let y'all know I love you, every single one of you, whoever's watching. You are loved here. You're safe here. You're welcome here anytime. Maybe I might start getting back on my own individual YouTube thing just to let y'all know you're loved. There's a crazy dude up in Canada, who loves you. All right, who loves every single one of you, and you're loved. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Natai. One thing I do want to mention about the 12 tribes too, which is fun to look at, is that each of the 12 tribes is representative of the people who lived around that particular stargate. As you know, Earth has stargates and she has 12. And each of those 12 stargates was a location on the planet, which had a tribe of people, angelic humans, who were initially commissioned to be the guardians of her stargates, who lived around that stargate and, exhibited that variety of culture and language. And so these tones are coming from that, right? For example, like Amika-san etor do, Amika-san, America, right? Chiazun Yang Le Yangum, that's China. And so we have like these sounds that kind of sound similar to something that we already have a little bit, but also are representative of the location that maybe perhaps was the dominant culture where those stargates were. Ramyana Shrivita like that's India, right? So very, very
Mm-hmm.
interesting to discover that a lot of these sounds, some of them you might resonate with a lot. It might also be helpful to find one that you just want to keep toning, just the suffix tone. Like if it's a raya zota ra, then you're just going raw. And that can be part of your meditation too, to feel into how does that feel? And just like Nate was saying, like we are one giant person composed of so many different, existences at once because time is simultaneous. We're like this multifaceted diamond where we're living simultaneously in each of these tribes. So you've had incarnational experiences in each of these tribal areas because if you resonate with this podcast, if you resonate with this information, you're highly likely somebody who A is an indigo and B has had multiple lifetimes as an angelic human here too, doing that work. And so you likely pretty much were a part of the guardianship of this earth and her stargates and resonate with these sounds and tones, which are now activating your DNA as we speak, as we talk about
Yeah.
it, as we sing them, as we tone them, as we hear them. They're very, very activating and powerful. So that is definitely a great technique.
Yeah. And one of the things too I want to add to is there a lot of us here, right? We're tired, you know. We are because we were here pre-fall. Many who are still around were here pre-fall. You know, we're talking long time ago, right? And I'm not talking pre-fall of Tara. Lots were here during pre-fall. I'm talking pre Lyra fall, right? All the way back then, right? A lot of us chose to stay, and a lot of us are tired, and a lot of us have learned what we needed to learn. Okay, just so you know, it's good to love, and it's good to go above and beyond, but don't go to the point where it's like, you know, you're now starting to get dragged into a black hole. Okay, it's good to love, but let's also remember to love self. And I want to share that with any indigo out there, any angelic human out there, and even if you're fallen, like self love is the key to to your liberation almost. Because when you love self, you realize, okay, I'm here, but where do I end? You know, I'm here right now. Out there's also here too. So therefore, we have this illusion of separation almost. We're not really separate, you know? So I get it. It's tiring. But we're reaching the end of that drama. And let's say we got a couple trillion years waiting for us of pure bliss with Creator. You know, of course, there's going to be a couple processes and a couple more cycles that we got to go through. But I think we're going to find ourselves in a more fair uh, system. And we'll operate from there. But to get there, though, remember, it takes effort, it takes time because we exist in time right now. It's actually good that it takes time because if you were to get all the frequencies of your higher parts right now, you'd just explode. You can't hold it. So that's what these techniques really are. It's bridging you, right? To be able to handle more and more frequency of you, to be able to integrate more and more frequency of the flame of self of Omnilove, to be able to now then walk as and breathe as a living library and law on planet, you know, to be that, to embody that. And it's a process, and the process has been laid out perfectly by people who came before us. Remember, people just like you who came before, who are like, I don't want this. I can only imagine the when the speakers were first getting this, like, me? Why me? Like, why am I the one to bring in all this information? But they did it anyways. And just like you right now, why you? Because you got the ears, you got the eyes, you're here, right? So be here, be right now.
Mhm.
And that's all you have to do. You don't have to worry. Delay is not a bad thing. It's actually good. It's preparing you. Just operate in you got it. That's all I'm trying to say to you. Whoever I feel is right now the one that's seeking that. You got it, man, or woman, or
Mhm.
anything in between. If that's how you want to float your, you got it.
Yeah, and certainly don't be discouraged by crazy, way of being introduced to the freedom teachings. Like there's so many workshops spanning over a decade. Where do I start? There's like 100 techniques. And like it can be quite overwhelming, and which it was for me. Like I didn't have anyone to show me this is step one, step two, step three, which is why we're doing this podcast to get people introduced gently and to be aware of that it is possible to get involved. It is, tangible. You can do it. We have recommendations of where to start. And to be quite honest, it seems complex because there's a lot of explanation as to the mechanics behind everything, but it's also quite simple. You can so somehow explain it to yourself that makes sense, right? And don't worry about having to hang on to every nuanced detail in order to proceed forward. I feel like if you just get the general gist of it and then do the technique, eventually you'll return back to some of these techniques and you'll re-listen to the workshops and you'll reread the material and you'll realize, oh, so much more has just sunk in. Now I get it even more. And I recommend that actually. If you are
Yeah.
somebody who has been doing this for a while, when you return to the basics of the freedom teachings, basic Cathara 1, Bio-Regenesis techniques, you will be mind blown. Like, whoa, this is so succinctly powerful, so
Mhm.
beautiful. I didn't think of it that way. You just come into more realizations. One, because your DNA is more activated, and when you return back to information, you absorb more. It's like you just keep getting more data and information from the material presented, and it never gets boring. You can always go back to starting from the basics and go over it again and be just as delighted, entertained, feeling complete and succinct. So it's a journey, and there is nobody who's like king of it all who knows everything. That doesn't exist. You are continually learning, peeling away the layers of the onion, as like some would say, and staying
Yeah.
humble the whole time. And that is the best way to approach this. So never feel like you're new, you don't know enough. You do. It's already actually in your DNA. It's already there. Trust that the process of awakening and remembering and coming into your self-confidence, knowing that, well, you got this. But also, if you went back to it later, you would pick up more, right? So it's just like an ongoing, ever evolving learning experience. And so you do have to be consistent. You have to trust the process. You have to be okay with not having like immediate results right away, like we're so conditioned to get used to in our culture. Just know that this is a lifestyle, it's a practice, and that it's never too late to get involved and to learn. And you have to be a student, a spiritual student of life. How better to know more about you than what's better, like study something external for your knowledge and awareness, or study more about you. And that's exactly what, to me, these teachings are, is learning more about you.
And that's all everything really is, right? There is the self that all other selves are grateful for. There's that one. It's not even. I don't even call it a being, right? Because it's almost like the infrastructure of all of creation, right? There's everything that when you connect, like words are not used to describe this level, right? That we're entering into. It won't be many words, and many of you will notice that it's not words. I've been noticing that in my day to day. I'm not really talking much, but I'm more emotional. Does that make sense? Like I'm not talking, but I just am feeling a lot more, and it's very quiet. And in this coming time, your tears and your laughter will teach you a lot more than anything. Remember to hold the flame through all stages of emotions, right? Because that you are greater than your emotions that are gonna be coming. And I'm getting a little bit more serious here because it's not gonna be easy. How many times I'm gonna really make that this won't be easy. It'll be a bit hard, and I know the emotions that will come up, the grief that will come up, the let's say some of the guilt that may come up, some of the anger that may come up, some of the blame that may come up. We already had the victimizer blame game thing. We shouldn't be blaming, but I say all this to say, at the end of it all, it will all be worth it to have known that I can experience all this, yet remain I am. Brings a peace. There's a peace that comes. that I know I can experience the rest of my days here on the planet, whether I ascend in however way, I know that's what I choose. I choose that path. I choose the path to go back home as whole as possible. Um, but into that choice as well, you have to also know there is going to be a sadness to it. There is going to be a sorrow because you will see the world around you and you will see others' choices that you feel aren't the best, but you have no right to determine that what's best for them or not, right? They do. But you see other people almost willingly choose to suffer, willingly choose to hurt others, willingly choose all these things, and will hurt because you're gonna feel I shouldn't do that. Well, slow down there. The best thing you can do in situations where people are harming each other is literally hold frequency. If it gets physical, right, then of course you're gonna do something to protect self, but it's to remember that grief, that pure joy, pure love, pure sadness in it. That's kind of what the flame is here. It's here to witness all that and to love it, to feel all the range of the emotions. Where we get caught up on wanting to feel love, light, but we're clueless. You don't want to be love, light, and clueless. It's not about feeling good. It's not always about feeling good. Okay. And these techniques will make you feel good. Feel pleasant, but also will bring up very unpleasant things that you need to stand strong and firm and witness and not judge as they come through. Okay. Things that you may have done in the past, things that may have been done to you, betrayals that you've experienced. But, right? That needs to go. That needs to be light has to shine on it, right? Your flame has to burn on it so that it can be integrated so that then now you don't have that miasm. So then when we're starting to enter into the higher worlds, we do not have any of those things, those attachments, those anchors into the, let's say, lower frequency of operation, right? So these techniques are a purification process so that we can embody uh, our oversouls and avatars. Specifically, oversoul embodiment will be a very important process these next couple of years because not all of us will be able to activate D12. Okay, not every human here that embarks on the freedom teachings is supposed to be a tweet D12 avatar like Jeshua. Okay, we're nowhere.
Yeah, like Jesus level.
Yeah,
You're
like
not
we're
meant to
not.
go all the way there.
We're all there, right? We are, but each has their own function. Many are here to embody pure Krystic oversoul. Okay, Krystic oversoul, because there are non-Krystic oversouls, but that's a discussion for another time. But to embody your oversoul, because that is the thing that will kind of allow the avatar pillars to start dropping in and avatar scrolls to start to be able to be more activated, right? But oversoul embodiment is really powerful. Okay, even soul embodiment is amazing. Okay, so as we work through that, just remember you don't always have to go all the way up to D12. D12 is used to keep your frequency protected. Yes, of course, always will be used. But in terms of activations within the self, getting up to D9 is just as amazing. Okay, getting your oversoul in is gonna be so important for these next coming years, and I'm getting a little bit excited about that because that's what we need. All of us, right? More oversouls mean more frequency anchored, meaning more Krystic accretion and the good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And just know that when you get involved in this, like Nate has been saying, like you activate so much within you that you're beginning to shed your own miasmic distortions and you're purging them into your morphogenetic field. So the majority of the issues that you encounter when you first turn on light up are coming from your own shedding. And we are not meant to stay with it. We're not meant to loop with it. A lot of people will go to medicine healing circles where they take psychedelic, activating drugs, I guess you could say. And then they just sit there and they loop through their problems. It's a torture. You don't need to loop. You
Yeah.
don't need to stay with it. You're watching it shed and leave. It can be painful, but it doesn't have to be consistent and persistent within your field, right? And that is a natural process. At the same time, you are turning on like a light on the globe. It has been described like that, like indigos and angelic humans to start to like turn on their Maharic shielding and they're bringing up the frequency. They're like lighting up like a Christmas tree, and you can be spotted from a mile away. So rarely, although it can happen, these like darker forces can take pot shots at you and it feels like there's external stuff happening that's totally out of your control, but for the most part it is your morphogenetic field showing you what you're shedding and purging out,
Yeah.
so that when you first begin these techniques you might find that your life goes into a tailspin and you feel like life is shit and it's just chaos. And Nate's making a face like I know all about it. And I've got
Yeah.
my stories too, but
Uh,
that's just the nature of it, and then
it,
it does get better, I promise.
it does. And the things that do shed, you realize are your shadows. And also, let's say you have a past life experience, okay? Let's say that you have a specific life where, because some of us indigos, right? We got really angry. Okay, we got betrayed, we got angry, and we acted on that anger. And a lot of that, those not like it's not even many of your incarnations. It could be even just one where you just kind of like, I'm angry, I'm just gonna go crazy and abuse my power. A
Mhm.
lot hold guilt from that, but don't. You did that. Guess what? You're a being in a fallen system as well. So you kind of do act like that. That's kind of part of it. Um, but you should know that's not proper to act. It hurt. You feel the hurt you caused others. Okay, forgive. Forgive self. Forgive other. Move. Continue to move.
Mhm.
Continue to breathe. Continue to be. Because let me tell you this: a lot of our responsibility is to remember when others forget. So remember, because others have forgotten. That's all I have to say right now.
Mhm.
We remember when others forget. That's why you chose. That's why we stayed back. We chose to remember. That's the original Lyran Syrian choice, right? To remain. The Anahazi, back then, the choice was to remember when everyone else forgets. So what we do now, we still remember when everyone else forgets. If they choose to forget, you remember. Hold the flame. You remember. Choose to remember. I'm getting really activated right now.
Ah, yeah, I could feel that. I loved it. I'm like, yes, remember, like you have a responsibility. If you've
Yeah.
come into this information and you're awakening and you're remembering because all of this lines up for you, then you have a responsibility. You're here to do that. Don't forget. Don't just pass it off as just like something interesting you discovered. It's lighting you up on purpose because that's what you're here to find and discover for yourself, right?
Mhm.
And I really hope that a lot of people are able to grasp onto some of this information and awaken at least partially, because there's so much more waiting for you when you do. And it's what we're looking for in the spiritual community. But oftentimes we find ourselves in trouble instead. But just
Mhm.
know that these teachings are like so structured and also strategic. And there's so many technologies waiting for you to utilize whenever you're feeling unsafe, whenever you're feeling like you need something to feel supported by. I think it
And
explains pretty much everything for me. The freedom teachings just goes deep into so much that a lot of people still wonder about. And so we actually have the information at our fingertips here, and trust the process, trust that it won't be easy at first, but once you get, really firm in your standing and you've shed out some of those major miasmic reversals out of your system, it gets a lot better after that, right? So please stick to it. Know that there are resources out there for you. And we hope that you somehow find this very activating and enlightening,
yeah.
this podcast episode. We're pleased to give you and discuss with you some of these techniques that we love and we enjoy. There's so many more than that, though. So keep an open mind and let us know if you have any questions or comments. Anything else you want to share, Nate, before we close up?
Yeah. Love you. I don't know.
That's right. Same, same. Taisha and Tadoy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this will be the conclusion of our podcast today about the basic technologies of Bio-Regenesis. Hopefully, in subsequent podcasts, we can go deeper into other topics that you find are really, really interesting. Please let us know what topics really align with you and interest you and that you'd like to learn more about, and maybe we can do a podcast about that. Take
Mhm.
care, everyone. Let your flame burn bright.
Cause you know we are powerful enough. It's love powering us. Echoes of flame eternally.